Hello, welcome to the September 15th, 2018 edition of Point Counterpoint 46360 show. The opinions expressed by the show's host, myself, Dwayne Perry, and Anthony Tony Hendricks will many times conflict. Thus the title, Point Counterpoint. Point Counterpoint is a weekly issue show for our area. Point Counterpoint always lets you be the judge for yourself. We live in an information free-for-all. It's hard to see through all the misinformation and get to the accurate facts, what's right and best for our community. We will not libel, discriminate, or disrespect anyone or their views. We believe in the constitutional First Amendment, right of free speech, and we support anyone who voices their opinion as part of their duty to their community. This program brings you just that, an unedited, honest, candid discussion of issues. The producers of Point Counterpoint are solely responsible for the content of the show, but because the show is not rehearsed, we take no responsibility for the opinions and statements made by our guests or for the information they gather from public sources. We would adhere to all applicable federal, state, and local regulations concerning limits of public speech and program content. The intent of the show is to thoroughly research current issues that affect our community, present the facts surrounding the issues, discuss the pros and cons, and then present to our viewing audience what we together or individually feel is the best solution for both the community and the public. Point Counterpoint 46360 show is a property of its producers, Dwayne Perry and Anthony Tony Hendricks, and may not be rebroadcast without the written permission of its producers. The producers take no responsibility for the opinions of others in the posting of comments in chat rooms, blogs, video logs, forum posts, or other media. We welcome and encourage ideas and suggestions for the show. We can be reached at 46360show@excite.com. Our shows will air on Comcast Cable Access and we rebroadcast by us on YouTube under the label Point Counterpoint 46360 show. Again, welcome to Point Counterpoint, the 46360 show, brought to you by Dwayne Perry and Anthony Tony Hendricks. We hope you enjoy the topics, our discussion, and the show. Well, let's get started, Tony. What do we have on our agenda for today?
Well, we're flying by the seat of our pants, right? This is a fun one. But we want to talk about homeless in Michigan City, LaPorte County, and South Bend. We're not just going to stay in our county. Any energy upgrades, the city council, and the article from Michigan City Sanitary District. The hospital, want to touch a little bit on the hospital and the old building. The sister show, News and Views, talked about that, had a good special on it. We want to bring back up lead in the pipes. I did a lot of research on EPA and lead in the pipes. And then maybe a little bit of change up of the show is, where is all this going? Since we don't want to be the naysayers or the curmudgeons, where's this all going? What does this all mean? So we'll try to look at that at the end. But first is the homeless, because we touched on it last week, and I wanted to bring it back up because it was in the paper. I'm looking for the article here. Oh, here. Michigan City Police Department will work with merchants on homeless issues. I'm sure I don't want to read the article to you, but this was September 13th. Chief Swistek said the city is very empathetic to the less fortunate, but we also allow their nuisance behavior to affect the quality of life along Franklin Street. So apparently some business owners on the north side are sad about panhandling and things happening with people downtown with the homeless issue. And I know there's lots of people working on the homeless issue in our county and the city, but it's becoming rising to the level that it's a touchy subject, but we can't ignore it.
Yeah, it is a touchy subject because it's growing. We're having more homeless people come to Michigan City because we offer shelter that other communities, I understand, like LaPorte, did not. LaPorte does not have overnight shelters, correct?
I don't think they have any that I know of. And LaPorte has some homeless. I've seen them downtown, but yeah, we don't.
And we're getting the population of homeless people in Michigan City is getting larger, and we have different philosophies on how we want to approach this. The most recent one I heard was that there's a group that want to build a housing complex for the homeless, a regular campus out on the south side of Michigan City around 400 North, Kiefer Road. And there's aspects to that are good, and there's aspects to that are bad. That land out there is very valuable. It's primarily farmland. So it's very valuable land, and that's a negative. The good point is, and I talked to a lot of people at different locations. I've talked to several young people, veterans who are involved with the homeless, trying to teach them some skills they don't have, retrain them, teach them how to build a good resume, interview skills, communication skills, organizational skills, how to manage their money, to get them back on their feet. And these people that I'm talking to, the people that are doing the teaching, have kind of a sour taste in their mouth about Michigan City, because they're saying, oh, we're not getting the support from the city because the shelters close at like 6 a.m. every morning, and to clean up. I mean, we all have to clean our living quarters where we live. So at 6 o'clock, they want everybody out so that they can clean up for the next day, for the next evening. And where do these people have to go at 6 o'clock in the morning? There's not many places. The library's not open. The places where they normally go to relax, read the newspaper, wherever, is not available to them. So they're sitting on the park benches downtown, and are there till about 9 or 10 o'clock. And the people are complaining about that. Merchants are, which is a different part of it, which I'll get to in a minute. They're complaining about it, and it's rightfully so. I mean, I'm sympathetic to anyone that's down and out. I read the statistics. The statistics for the United States are not very good. They say that I've heard it said that the average person in this country lives 3 paychecks ahead of bankruptcy, financial disaster. Well, if you get paid bi-weekly, that's 6 weeks. That's not very good to not even have 6 weeks of financial resources to survive. And I've heard different things about that the average American doesn't have enough to retirement and take it past so many months. This country is really living on the edge. And so people that have been unfortunate and had bad luck and are now homeless, I both sympathize and I empathize with them. But I'm all for helping them out to get a helping hand up, not a hand out, as the saying goes. I'm more than willing to help them to get on their feet so that they can get back in the work world and get back and be self-sufficient. But there are people who have dropped out, and I know of one, who have dropped out, who want nothing more than 3 meals a day and a place to sleep for the rest of their life. And those people, I don't want them in Michigan City anymore. They need to go somewhere else, because we're struggling as a community. Nobody likes to talk about it. I don't know why. I don't know why we're looking at the glass as half full rather than half empty, but we're struggling economically as a community. We don't have jobs. We haven't had a decent job for people in the last 7 years. It was longer than that. Mayor Oberle didn't bring any industry to Michigan City. So however long he was in office, we haven't had a decent job for Michigan City young people to situate themselves, to plant roots, to stay. My 3 kids, as I've said many times, are gone because there's no opportunity here. And here we are, we're the downtown arts district, which is our Gold Coast, and that's what I've heard people refer to it as. Michigan City people are upset because the homeless are hanging around the Gold Coast. Well, that's all we're developing in town right now, is our Gold Coast, the arts district, so that we have more out-of-town traffic coming here. So yeah, we need to assist the homeless to get back on their feet, but not in the Gold Coast. We need to develop an area of town where we have all the resources that they need. And we need to move in that direction. And I feel very strongly about that.
That's why I want to bring it for a topic for you, because I'm not just talking about Michigan City, LaPorte County. This was an article in the South Bend Tribune for South Bend. South Bend has a very distinctive problem, and that's Notre Dame. And they got a lot of industry out there.
They're a prestigious university, a lot of money.
A lot of industry out there. Elkhart, the RV manufacturing, a lot of industry goes in that area. But on August 11th, South Bend's Homeless Gateway Project proving a tough sell. Now what's interesting about this article...
What's the Gateway Project?
The Gateway Project...
It's a development.
It's a development. So Ivy Tech Community College in March donated 6 portable classrooms, those like trailers, to the city to serve as temporary shelters for homeless. It was free, and the city wanted to spend $1.5 million to set these up as a gateway to transition homeless people to upstanding citizens and have a job and have a place to live and move on and be good producing members of society. But any place they try to put these, the neighborhood just says no.
Throws a shoe. They reject it.
We don't want to concentrate. Yeah, here's the question is, we want to help them, but we don't need to be concentrating anyone in one area. It's better that they have scattered houses so they could transition and not concentrate all the area with one known troublesome issue. So even South Bend, and South Bend, this was brought to a vote. I'm looking for who voted for it. The NIMBY people came out, not in my backyard, and said no, we don't want a concentration of homeless people in our area, because they had another homeless area, a smaller one, I believe on the south side of the city, and they have some very, very bad things going on. They have drug use, they have prostitution, they have just people loitering around, they have drunk people, they have people who are begging for money and holding up traffic. So they have this, and the city of South Bend wants to spend this $1.5 million, and they brought it to a vote for the Urban Enterprise Association to buy the property, but in May 24th, the Urban Enterprise Association of South Bend voted unanimously against it. So they also agree.
I'm glad you specified that was South Bend, because I haven't seen the prostitution, but the rest of it, I've seen a little bit of that in Michigan City, the panhandling. And I'll go back a couple years ago to when the question was the Midtown. What are we going to do for the Midtown area?
Where is that?
The Midtown area, we talked about that. I would
Keys
say
of Hope.
Keys of Hope is right there. The Karate Studio, Albano's, Panini. When that was a topic of conversation, what are we going to do for the Midtown area with Keys of Hope? Because there was a lot of bad vibes going around about that. And there were 2 people. I was standing in a restaurant in that area, talking to the owner, and right while I was standing there, a homeless person came in through the back door of the restaurant. In fact, the employee said the guy damaged the door, walked through with a backpack that it was later determined he had put in a trash can outside for safekeeping the night before, picked it up and walked through the restaurant, walked right through. He had a restaurant full of people, walked right through and right out the front door. And right across the street, the bike shop owner, who unfortunately is not here anymore because he got really discouraged, he told me, I tried to talk him into staying, couldn't do it. He was having a seminar for Cub Scouts to get them into bicycling, and it was going great. They had their dads there, the Cub Scouts there, and a couple homeless people came in, and first they started high-fiving, and then they started panhandling for money. And he said he thought he was going to have a brawl on his hands because the fathers weren't going to let that happen, and I don't blame him. I wouldn't let it happen. And then he related to me also that he had 2 incidents of catching homeless people urinating in the entries, one in the back entry, one in the front to a store. Now that kind of behavior is unacceptable, and if that's what we're going to deal with, then the empathy is gone. The empathy is gone, and I think Michigan City Police need to enforce the laws of vagrancy, of appropriate behavior in public.
Well, that was part of the article. Michigan City Police Department said loitering is not a crime, so they can't do anything. So we have a situation where, like you said, we have, I think there's a free meal, a free hot meal somewhere in the Midtown, North Side area of town every day.
Yes.
And we have a place for them to sleep. So are we creating an infrastructure, an atmosphere where we are helping them be homeless? We are helping them, we are enabling the bad behavior. Because if they get to eat once a day, a healthy meal and a free warm meal, and get to sleep somewhere, and the rest of the day is no fun either. You're sitting on a parking bench or going to the library and trying, you know, as long as you can, not get kicked out, or try to use the restroom somewhere, either behind a building or somewhere. I mean, that's not good. We're not the only town. I mean, San Francisco is notorious. They have a huge problem with it. My sister lives there. She says it's atrocious. It's unbelievable how bad it is.
Beautiful, beautiful town.
Yeah, beautiful, beautiful town. South Bend obviously has a huge problem, which they would like to try to help too, but they have the same situation. So the question, like you said, is a hand up, or is it, you know, a hand out, a hand up, not a handout? Where does that fall in between saying, okay, you know, if somebody's coming in every day for a warm, hot meal with, you know, their nails, the fingernails done, or their hair done perfectly, or a cell phone and a suit, I mean, are they really something that somebody can help themselves? Or these people who are really, something bad's happened, they've had a condition, they got hurt, or, you know, there wasn't any work, they couldn't find a job temporarily. Those people need help. Keys to Hope is trying to do that.
And I agree with that. Twice when I ran, two people, and I mentioned this again, I mentioned it last week because it sticks in my craw. Two people that were obviously not my supporters called me an obstructionist. Those two people, and I'm not going to give their names, are so clueless. If there's anybody in this town that's not an obstructionist, it's me. If I were a businessman owning my own company, I would employ every homeless person I could rationalize and not go out of business, because I want to see everybody work. If I could create jobs to bring the young people back, including my own 3 kids, I would do it. I am all about jobs, I'm all about the future of Michigan City, but I am about people doing what's right and conducting themselves appropriately. I don't urinate in public, I don't panhandle, and I don't expect anyone else to.
So we have groups that are trying, and the question is, are we doing too much good that's hurting these people? Does this free meal every day and a place to sleep enabling them, or are we working to getting them somewhere where they can be self-sufficient?
Are we helping them, or are we taking away their desire to get on their own?
We had that, well, back in the Clinton era, right? He signed the welfare to work law. I remember that. That was very controversial. And said, we're not giving you free money. You got to do something. You can't just take free money and not work. Let's move on. Energy upgrades. It was the city council, had some money. Here you go. Michigan City. Don Prespolinski was on there. I believe he's the president of the council, isn't he?
Yeah, I think so.
Yeah, so Michigan City.
$3.7 million on various energy-saving performance projects.
Well, I brought that in because it says $37 million in energy upgrades to pay for themselves. And then later in the article it says $3.5 million. So I didn't know what the difference was there. You know, if you look at that, it says $37 million. Is it really supposed to say $3.75 million? But I brought it in because the sanitary district also had an award in the front page of the paper where NIPSCO gave them $190,000. Excuse me if I'm wrong. So it was a large sum of money for reducing their dependency on energy and being good stewards of saving energy and the energy upgrades. I think it was $190,000.
Wait a minute, there's one here. HVAC upgrades in City Hall. I was never hot in City Hall. Senior Center, which never had an issue. In the police department. Isn't that a brand new police station we've got? Well, you want to elaborate on that, Tony? You know a little bit about that.
We spent $13 million on a brand new police station. Brand new. What is that? 2 years old? 3
Yeah.
years old? Brand new.
And the company that installed the HVAC system in our police station, aren't they the same ones that installed something in the county complex or courthouse or something like that? And they're having
I don't know if it's the same company, but the county did a energy upgrade system, and they, I don't know if I remember correctly, the article was that they didn't realize it got that cold for that long up here, and the energy or the heat exchangers couldn't keep up, and the courthouse was 50 or 60 degrees inside. I hope that's not going to happen again. But the interesting here, you're looking at the really one here that I don't understand is removing extraneous lighting in the senior setting parking lot. Do the seniors like that? I don't know if you can have extraneous lighting in the senior center parking lot. They need all the light they can get.
Is that the same article?
Yeah, same article. Right down
no,
here.
it's not. Your back page is different than mine.
Oh, here you go. So they want to remove some lighting in the senior center parking lot.
Okay, these are infrastructure upgrades. Yeah, we don't want to remove any lighting anywhere.
The senior center.
Well, wait a minute. If we want to remove some lighting, let's remove a little bit on Michigan Boulevard. we got a street.
I remember that.
Yeah, we got a street light about every 50 feet, and they're not the same. One's real high, different style. One's real low, and if you drive down the boulevard at night, it's about as bright as a parking lot.
Oh yeah, this was from the Times, and that was from the News Dispatch. That's why I pulled it up. The Times said 37 million in energy upgrades. The News Dispatch said 3.7 million.
Somebody lost a decimal point someplace.
I mean, it just seems like we have a feel-good sort of thing going on, but no substance. It just, and I've said this before, when the county or anyone does these energy-saving things, why can't we just do them ourselves? Why do we pay somebody? I added it up. It was 3.59 million of energy upgrades, and we're paying 3.75 million, so that's a profit of $160,000. So we're paying somebody $160,000 to say that we need to take all the lights in the city, the street lights, and turn them to LED. Well, we could have just done that. You know, we could have hired the same people to do that. We didn't need to hire somebody to do that. Krieger Hall, wasn't that just that was just renovated too, not but.
Yeah, that's at Memorial Park, the old Memorial Park building, right there at Liberty Trail, right?
That was like 5 to 7 years ago. It was upgraded.
That's a beautiful facility, absolutely beautiful. I've been there. It's warm in winter. It's cool in summer.
Yeah,
I don't know what's going on.
This says HVAC controls upgrades, police department. Well, City Hall, Senior Center, police department. A brand new building. Why we need control upgrades? To just this is things kind of like the safety thing we talked about.
Yeah,
we have very
talked
good
about
people.
that last week.
Can they just do it?
We contract out for everything. And why do we contract out? Because we have the money. Why do we have the money? Because of the riverboat. The riverboat's taken the fiscal responsibility out of government. Instead of watching your dollars, you just reach in the bag again.
Okay, so let's go on that one. I didn't show you this one. This was a new one last night.
Oh boy.
Northwest Indiana Times. September 13th. City of Gary is months away from having no cash on hand to run the government. And the only really...
And how many riverboats do they have? They have 3 of them.
Yeah. So the interesting part of this article...
At least
2 of them. So the interesting part of this article is the city is going to sell their police station and city hall to the redevelopment commission or somebody, and they're going to lease it back. They're going to pay 8% in bonds for $40 million loan. But the real interesting thing in this article, I'm looking for it. I want to make sure I get it right.
I wish you hadn't read that. Michigan City will be all over that. 8.5% on a bond. That's whoa. We can't resist that.
Gary adopted a $54 million budget for this year. You're going to like this. But it is expected to only collect $30 million in property taxes. And that's why they're $24 million in the hole, and they need to sell their building and borrow $40 million.
Jesus.
And you've talked about this before. You did some research on what the city's budget was before we got the casino and what happened very near after that.
We had a lot of people in this town right after we got the riverboat that came to the trough. The trough was overflowing. First year, and who was mayor at that time? I think it was Sheila Brilson. First year we got the riverboat, Michigan City's budget increased 50%. 50% in 1 year, from 20 million to 30 million. And how do I know that? Because I was elected to the council in 2012. I'd never been in public service before, but I got into public, decided to run, because this is my hometown. third generation. I came back here to settle down after my parents passed away. That's why I got involved. So I think, hey, I better figure out what's going on. I went in a vault to try to find out how many boards and commissions. You look on the city's website and you got a full page of boards and commissions. I wanted to see how many boards and commissions we had before the riverboat came, where we operated the city satisfactorily, versus after. Well, I couldn't find any records of that because, much to my surprise, the only records that are kept in the city clerk's vault are Board of Public Works meeting materials and city council meeting materials. And I asked the clerk, Gail Nyla, where's the rest of the stuff? Where's all the stuff from the planning department? Oh, they keep their own records. Where's the stuff from the mayor's office? Well, there is no stuff from the mayor's office because it seems like every time a mayor leaves office, all of it, everything in that office gets shredded or is gone. And she nearly had to pick me up off the floor when she told me that. I just,
No continuity.
well, whatever, no records, so we don't know where we were at. So I never did find out how many boards and commissions we had before. I know we got enough, and I've seen the city budget ratchet up year after year after year, not yielding, in my opinion, not yielding anything productive. I'm sorry.
Well, Gary,
I fiddle around with a couple doing different things to bring in some extra money for a little while in 2017. And so I bumped into a lot of young people. There are a lot of young people in this town that are living 2 and 3 kids to an apartment. Why? Because none of them got a decent job. They can't afford a place on their own. So they're bundled up in apartments. I met young couples where the husband and wife both worked, still couldn't make ends meet because they were below or equal to the IRS statistic for average wage for Michigan City household, which was like $33,000, which is no more than 2 $10 an hour jobs. So you wonder why I'm getting a little bit radical about this. That's why. We're building Oz, but the people that live in Oz are starving to death. I don't know how I can put it more bluntly, but anyway, you open the door for me, Tony. I'm sorry, but
I'll open it up for you some more.
That's an ongoing issue.
It's a good time because, well, to dovetail, the city of Gary, per the article, again, I want to say, adopted a $54 million budget, but is only expected to collect $30 million. So Gary's ahead of us in his casino run.
Yeah, I was wrong.
Where we're going?
I was wrong because Horseshoe belongs to Hammond, but I think Gary's got Majestic and Buffington Harbor both on one. Those are both. So Gary's got 2 casinos.
So they're adopting budgets nearly double of what they're bringing in.
Yeah.
And we know Michigan City's been ratcheting its budget up.
Well, Michigan City brings in about between 10 and 12 million a year from the riverboat, and their budget is about a $46 million budget. So they're bringing in about 25% of their budget, operating budget, comes from the riverboat. And the original agreement that the portion of the riverboat expenses that would go to operating expenses for the city was originally set by the 8 to 12 council, I believe, I'm going off memory now, at 20%, which is far exceeded.
Yeah, we've thrown that out the window. But let's move on because you want to say there's no continuity. So when a new mayor comes in, there's not much there, and we don't know what happens to the paperwork. Brings me to this article here. If I can.
Well, some terrible things have happened.
September 4, 2018. Former 8th Street site tenant sued for cleanup. This is the Weber sign people.
Oh, yeah.
So I wanted to bring this out because...
There's no more blood in that turnip to squeeze out.
Well, that's what I'm going to ask. I mean, I thought, so I went through my records. I'm glad I saved some stuff. Because I remember the redevelopment commission was going to try to take that property and build these condos, and that was 2009.
I think they took an eminent domain from Weber Sign,
They
right?
wanted eminent domain,
Yep.
and they gave them an estimated value, and then they said, if I remember correctly, they said, you have to clean up all the contamination. So the Weber Sign and the Ice House people said, no. If you want it, you'll pay us, and you'll clean it up. And if I remember correctly, and I couldn't find the court record, they went to trial.
And the city lost.
And the city lost, and I said, well, why are we... Is there a disconnect in the history of Michigan City? This is 2009. Maybe they don't remember. And I had the article. The City of Michigan City, the Redevelopment Commission, gave a contract, $390,260 bid for the former Air Craft facility, $176,644 for the former Norfolk and Western side of East Street, and $67,782 for Weber Sign property at 730 8th Street. So they paid $634,000 for its total soil cleanup with a $600,000 grant received and another $120,000 federal matching from the Indiana Finance Authority. And the city has applied to the EPA Brownfield Cleanup Grant Program for funds to clean up groundwater contamination at the same sites. So this was under Al Wallace is in here, Sanitary District Board, 2009. And I know the mayor worked for the sanitary district then, I think. So I don't understand. I'm confused why now in 2018 we are suing them again. And they said, you know, the city of redevelopment acquired these in 2003 through adverse possession according to a suit filed at Port Superior Court. And then it learned through its consultant, Environmental Incorporated Development, that the contaminated properties have been impacted by a variety of pollutants, including but not limited to volatile organic compounds, VOC, tetrachloroethylene, and its derivative products, and metals. But
Basically, methyl ethyl, bad stuff.
Bad
It's
stuff.
full of it.
And then it says, Michigan City expended funds in 2008 and 2009 to remediate contaminated soils on the property, and they removed 19,759 tons of contaminated soil to below acceptable standards set by Indiana Department of Environmental Management. However, certain contaminants remain above acceptable levels in soil and groundwater in the area. Well, and now we're going to sue Weber and these people again because I don't understand, because, and I'm asking the question, because we cleaned it up and it wasn't clean? I'm so confused.
Well, that's a pretty big corridor. I'm going off of memory now, which isn't the best, but there have been a lot of businesses in that area. You mentioned a couple of them, the old Ice House, Hayes Corporation was down there. That was, and they I think were maybe one of Dwyer Instruments competitors. They did that kind of thing, and there's still entities in that area that are of an industrial nature. Our own sanitation plant. We have 8th Street Substation, a NIPSCO facility with transformers that no longer have PCBs, but once upon a time they had transformers there that had PCBs in them. You know, I understand you don't bite the hand that feeds you, but this responsibility needs to rest where it belongs.
Well, I don't understand.
We held certain people to task. That's over with.
We went to court in 2009, and there's all this documentation. Some of it's on the city website. And maybe the article wasn't just thorough enough. Is this double jeopardy? Why are we going back? The city paid $600-some thousand to clean 19,000 yards of soil.
Well,
I mean, it's just concerning. You know, if you were a citizen, are you? Does somebody have the ability to sue you and sue you and sue you until it's done?
There's a lot of inconsistency. No, you don't have the right. Double jeopardy is the law. You can't be placed in double jeopardy. Whoever paid for that cleanup is now done paying for that cleanup. Michigan City's got to find somebody else to hang out to dry on that. But unfortunately, I think the city doesn't know what it does from one day to the next.
Well, that's why you brought it up.
It doesn't read its own website, because remember months ago when we talked about the stormwater fee that we were very much against and delighted that it was pulled off the council's agenda immediately after we did our program about it. In the write-up, the mayor and his sanitary district manager, Mike Cuss, said that the city needed this fee to finish separation of the stormwater from the sanitary water for processing. And yet you can go on the city's website, and there was that report
Yep.
that was issued in 2006 or 2008. It's right on the website that it was done by Structure Point, our favorite gang, that said that at that time, the city was 96% separated.
Yeah.
So what's going on here?
Happy times. So I'm glad you brought up water. Let's go to water. School board. I don't know if you've read this one.
Yeah,
The lead.
we beat that horse.
Oh no, I did some more work. I did some more things. So here's what I want to bring to the viewers. There's some really good websites, and we keep telling you to go to these websites. And there's some really neat stuff by the EPA and the U.S. Environmental Protection Agency and Indiana Department of Environmental Management. And you were right, because they had some lead. But I didn't realize that we have some problems, and the EPA says this, and IDEM says this, that some of the lead is not from a long time ago. It's from when we switched over from galvanized pipe to copper pipes. And I didn't know that 1986 was the year that lead solder was banned. Not that long ago.
Right.
So they're saying this lead contamination is even coming from people that have copper pipes. The lead in the solder
Right.
is contaminating this. So
And my contention, Tony, is that when the plumbing was installed in those houses, and you yourself said,
Yep.
we had galvanized piping,
Yeah.
which had lead in the pipe, up to 1986. I can't believe that every house in Michigan City has had the galvanized piping taken out of the supply to it. I haven't seen that many streets dug up. But we had lead here, and we had lead there. And it was installed.
no one's at fault.
No one's at fault. It was installed per the Uniform Building Code, which has since been replaced in Michigan City by the International Building Code.
The National Building.
That happened right at the end of my stint on the council. I disagreed with that because there was verbiage in that. There were articles in that could be used. The city could swoop down on people and with great vengeance. And I thought it was unfair, but that's another issue in itself. But those homes were built and plumbed. The plumbing was installed for the Uniform Building Code, and if that building code has now become a problem, the people should not have to pay to solve that problem. They need help from government.
So there's some things in here, and this is the EPA document on the website. Things you can do to reduce lead in drinking water. Use lead-free pipes and materials in new construction. But it says, here's a good one. There are no state or federal laws that require businesses or homes to address lead in drinking water. However, under the Safe Drinking Act, the United States EPA requires that utilities must ensure that water from a customer's tap does not exceed 15 parts per billion of lead to the water. In 1986, President Reagan signed amendments to the act requiring that lead-free pipes, solder, and flux must be used in installation or repair of any public water system or plumbing in residential or non-resident facilities connected to public water system. This was the ban on lead
In 1986.
1986. But the key word here is, and it was hard for me to look at this, requires that utilities must ensure that water from a customer's tap, not from the supply, from the tap,
Yeah.
does not exceed 15 parts per billion. Now, what's the tap? Is that in the street, or is that the faucet where you turn on? Anyways, so here's what you should do. Whenever water in a faucet has not been used for 6 or more hours, I didn't know that, You should flush the cold water pipes by running the water at least 30 seconds or until it becomes as cold as it will get. This could take as little as 5 to 30 seconds or if there has been some recent heavy water use, such as shower and so 6 hours. That's nothing.
No.
You go to bed and 6 hours you're supposed to you better not be drinking the water out of the tap. You got to flush it if it's been sitting for 6 hours. Because we just had last week we talked about the schools and that water sat all summer and it tested hot. They say use cold water for drinking or food preparation because hot water would have lead. Boiling water will not eliminate lead contamination. And here's the good one. This one I want to bring up if you like this one. Get your water tested. This is from the EPA. Get your water tested. The only way to be sure of the amount of lead in your water is have it tested by the Indiana State Department of Health, local health departments, or a laboratory certified by the Indiana State Department of Health. For more information on drinking water testing, contact Indiana State Department of Health, Lead in Healthy Homes Program, Indiana State Department of Health, list of certified labs, or your public water supplier. Contact your utility. So,
see, now I have talked to people who have wanted to have their water tested and were refused.
They said, no, we're not testing your water out of your tap.
No.
So I went a little further because you know me and the internet.
I hear you. Go ahead.
Lowe's or Menards. Printed this out for everybody. $10.99. You can buy a water test kit. $10.99. EPA approved lab methods. So you get this test kit, you put the water in there, and you send it away. And they send you a report. $10.99. I didn't see anywhere that. And if somebody thinks they got lead in their water, maybe the city should help them pay $10.99
to find out.
And find out. Because the city does test it right there at the beach at their water station. We're guarantee you that's good water.
Well, are they right? Are they testing it at the right spot?
Are they testing it at the right spot? And if it's the key here is I didn't realize that the solder and copper pipes is a contributing factor, a big contributing factor. Not just the lead line galvanized pipe or the lead line laterals or the lead pipes. The solder in the copper pipes up until 1986 was a problem.
You would think that would disappear as a problem over time, because even copper pipes, if you've ever cut them apart, they will build up a little bit of coating on the inside.
Well, yeah, that's what the report said. It'll build up a coating, and after time, it should be less. But
must be an awful lot when it's new piping.
And we brought that out. So here again, I went and I printed out this time. American Water. American Water. They are going to spend.
American Water.
American Water out of hand. You can look at that one.
Doesn't Chesterton?
Yeah, a lot of people over on the northwest side of Indiana get this. So American Water applied for the Indiana Utility Regulatory Commission. We talked about this last week. And they asked if they could hike the fees so they could fix all the service lines to these homes that have lead in them. And the IURC said, yes, we will allow you to do that. So American Water in Northwest Indiana has a program, and I'm looking for the price. Oh, right here. American Water estimates it will replace all lead service lines by no later than 2042 and possibly soon as 2028, depending on a number of factors, including customer impacts, available contractors to perform the work, and they'll also continue to use corrosion inhibitors, which you talked about, to stop the seal from going into the lead. And the estimated cost to replace all lead service lines in 2017 $177 million. Now I gave you that because that's what piqued my interest to bring this back to the show, since we beat lead lines up to death. This is your buddy. See who that is? This is your favorite buddy. The same people who raised the gas taxes on us are now have a task force.
Oh, Ed Soliday.
And how much do they want? Let me give you a second to look at that. There's a task force down in Indy. I just showed you American Water. American Water is going to spend $177 million by raising the fees and water rates to fix all the service the lead service lines in their territory, Northwest Indiana. So this one, so
According to
Indiana,
Indiana Finance Authority, there's an immediate need for $2.3 billion in water system repairs, and another $815 million per year is required for additional maintenance to protect human health and stem the loss of some 50 billion gallons of water a year that never make it to a customer.
so where's that coming?
Well, that's
Where's that money coming from?
consumer.
We're going to pay. And how much does Indiana have in their rainy day fund?
$2 billion.
$2 billion. Isn't that amazing? So they're holding $2 billion, and it's going to cost $2 billion. I go through this with students all the time. 3 things for life: air, water, food. Number 2 is water. You can't survive typically about 3 weeks without, 3 days without water. If you don't have water, it's rule of 3s. 3 minutes without oxygen, 3 days without water, 3 weeks without food. The number 2 life-sustaining need of our state is water. And it will cost about $2 billion to fix it all. We know it costs $177 million in American water, and the state's sitting on $2 billion. We've discussed we'd like to take $2 billion and use it for education, but it looks like we have more important things to do, like fixing the drinkable water.
Well, they see, they're talking about the commission to understand the challenges and costs of improving the state's aging water infrastructure. But then when I threw out those numbers, it said to stem the loss of 50 billion gallons a year. So they're not talking about lead in the water there. They're talking about
Leaking.
leaking.
Leaking. How many gallons?
50 billion
50 billion gallons of water are leaking out of our
a year
pipelines.
in Northwest Indiana.
A year.
Well, we shouldn't have to worry about the level of the lake going down then.
Maybe that's why the lake's up.
Oh my God, we'll have another beach rights fight. Lakefront, oh my God. Jesus. Sometimes it seems.
I mean, it's this feel good. Who's going to want to tell? Oh, they come up with the idea to the government say, this feels good, let's do it. It's a good feel good issue, but there's really no substance, but it feels good, and no one's going to vote against it. You know, it feels good that we need to fix the infrastructure problem. It's going to cost $2 billion. Just put it on the fee. Just hike up the rates. We got a problem. Anything else
Yeah,
you want?
don't manage your money better. Just go back to the till for more money.
Just go back and take more money and store it, because, and I said this before, the government's not a bank. We know they can raise taxes. So why are they holding $2 billion? Well, supposedly it's what, 40 days of operating expenses for the state, but it doesn't matter. We saw Illinois go 2 years without no money. Anyways, moving on.
How are we doing on time? Andy took our clock away, and
It's 3:50, so we got like, what, 15 minutes?
we got 10 minutes.
10 minutes. So I want to bring up, there's a good show, News and Views, I saw. They had a good special. They had the lady from St. Anthony's Hospital. She says the hospital's moving January 12th next year.
Yep.
Be done.
What are we gonna do with the old building?
The old building, they're going to leave as an urgent care facility.
Wow.
Not emergency, urgent. So like you can go there and not emergency, just.
I know,
Yeah.
that's a pretty big urgent care facility.
Yeah. And then I wanted to bring on a little bit of the hospital, because I saw this article. I just want to bring the hospital up. There's this article in the South Bend Tribune. New hospital in Granger follows national trend of moving out to where the people are.
Yep.
So we see this in Porter County, right? Porter County moved out of the county.
Yep. Well, people are moving out of Michigan City.
Michigan City's hospital moved out of town. People don't want to admit that. They moved to the county. They moved out of town. Now they're right adjacent to us, but they're in the county. Hospitals in the county. Granger Hospital is moving out of town, and they're building a big community hospital in the county. So as people are moving out of the municipalities, the hospitals are following.
But I was wrong about something initially on the hospital moving out of town. I said this is wonderful. Now the town is losing tax revenues because the hospital is moving out of town. But then I realized once I got into it that because the hospital is owned by The Sisters of Alverno, a religious organization, they're tax exempt. They are declared a not-for-profit organization, and they're tax exempt.
503 or something.
Yeah, which kind of annoys me. Every property tax dollar that we lose puts more of a, from the business world, puts more of a load on the public.
Yeah, we all soak it up.
We all soak it up, the homeowners and the small business owners that own the property that their business is in, the entrepreneurs, so to speak. And this tax-free status is going a little bit too far in this country. Hospitals do make money. When if you know somebody, I knock on wood, next Saturday I will be in the hospital, but I've never been in a hospital in my life other than being born. So I've been very lucky. But when you go into a hospital and they give you a box of tissues that you would buy for $1.75 or $2.75, and they charge you $45 for it on your bill because they call it a mucus control device, that makes them a profit center, in my opinion. They make money. So I'm sorry, St. Anthony's, Sister of Alverno's, my opinion, you should be paying property tax like other businesses in this town.
Well, my understanding of non-for-profits and 501c3s, they are tax exempt, but they have to show that they provide the generated service that would equal the amount of taxes they pay. But so that's really my rub. So if you're a company and you're not-for-profit, 501c3, and you say you're supposed to pay $1 million in taxes.
Mm-hmm.
But you can tell the government, I'm a not-for-profit, so I donated $1 million of service. So they're choosing where to put their money, and it's not going to the government. So we are bearing the cost of them choosing where to donate their money. We don't get that choice. The government takes our money or they take our house.
Yep.
Pure and simple. We either give them our money or they take our house. We don't get to choose where we get to donate our money or spend our money.
And businesses should not have that choice.
I agree with you. I mean, I don't like it one bit. But what I wanted to bring out before we left, and Dwayne and I have talked about this a lot, the Times editorial board on August 26th has an editorial. And it says, we will work to retain your trust in local news. And there was this whole, and we're going to get on a strange topic here, touchy topic. The media. You know, Donald Trump says it's fake media, fake news, whatever he says. So, and he said something about he was against the media or something. So the Times put out this editorial, we will work to retain your trust in local news. That's very interesting. So they felt the need to put out an article that says, you trust us and we're going to make sure you keep trusting us. That speaks volumes that some people are losing trust. If you have to put out an article saying, we will work to retain your trust,
exactly.
you have a problem. So,
exactly.
And in my mind, I think it should have said, you know, we understand there's some issues that we are not trustworthy on.
They're admitting a little bit
exactly
that the news has not been fair, unbiased.
Yes.
And let me state my position very clearly. I support my president. Mr. Trump is our president right now. I support him. Many times he acts more like a reckless businessman than like a politician statesman, which upsets me. I wish he would stop tweeting. But he is still the president of our country, and we owe him respect for that. The late night comedians, Stephen Colbert in particular, I've stopped watching him because of his total lack of respect for the president that he displays every night on TV. And the reason the press is after President Trump is because he didn't lay down and take it when they went after him originally. He's a fighter. And if you like movies, you like a fighter. But the press doesn't like to be challenged. And life being what it is, unlike it was when I was a kid, when we had 4 news stations, 2, 5, 7, and 9. Well, we had 8 because we had 4 out of South Bend.
Mm-hmm.
And you had 8 sources of news. Now we've got a couple hundred. You can find news
Thousands,
everywhere.
hundreds of thousands.
And so now the news doesn't have to just report news. They've got to flare it up. The news is selling entertainment so that people watch their news, the news on Channel 2 rather than Channel 5, or Channel 5 rather than Channel 7.
They're a for-profit business.
Yeah, they're for-profit businesses, and they're selling entertainment in addition to just the news. Look at it. Get on YouTube and watch an old WGN weather where Fahey Flynn was doing the weather. A likable, chubby little guy that was a great weatherman. And look who you got doing the weather today. 75% of news stations are beautiful young women doing the weather, because a guy wants to hear the weather from a pretty girl rather than a chubby guy. It's entertainment, folks.
And that article was very interesting. I mean, that right there that says that we will work to retain your trust in the news. So it had a neat little, they had a survey on there. And I don't know if you looked at it, but we only got another minute and a half here. So they had a survey that says that local people trust their local media. And that's generally true. It's local people doing the local news that work in our communities. And they went through there and they said, I think it's on, maybe it's on the back page or something, that
over 54% of Americans have a great deal or fair amount of trust and confidence in the media. Their survey concluded.
well, the number's higher for local people. So the local news outlets are still doing a good job.
There are 59%
Yeah.
who trust national newspapers, 55% who trust national news networks, and 47% who trust online only news outlets.
So
Still not very good.
no, it's not very good. And if
In the
you
days of Chet Huntley and David Brinkley, we trusted the news.
all right, so he's getting us down to 1 minute here. Gotta go, Clint. So
We skipped one topic. We'll have to do that. The sanitary district energy savings from NIPSCO versus...
well, we talked a little bit about it. But my last few seconds was, we don't want to be obstructionists, so where is this all going? We've talked about a lot of things, the economy, the news media trust. We've talked about autonomous vehicles and society, and Dwayne and I talk about this a lot. When we go through all this autonomous, where does this all end up? So we'll try to add that on later in the show and bring that on.
Well, like a trite saying goes, you can't make an omelet without breaking an egg. Well, if you got something fixed, you're not going to improve it unless you admit it's broken.
Exactly.
You got to admit that it's broken in order to fix it. And that's all we're trying to do here, is point out what needs to be improved for the people of LaPorte County, for the people of Michigan City, LaPorte, our area.
So we'll see you next week. It's always been a good show.
Thanks, come on back. Please email us. Let us know you're out there.